In my summer months, I was doing like $6,000 a month. My overhead on the unit was like under $2,000. I'm closing $4,000 a month on a side business.
Danica Thomas,
a licensed real estate broker with experience in managing multi-million-dollar real estate portfolios.
Everything in this world is relative. I think what works for me is not 100% what's gonna work for you. You work 14-hour days and you feel like you've accomplished nothing. It's absolute chaos. Like, it's constantly jumping around and doing all of these random tasks and things that need to get done as they're presented right away. I make a list, I knock it out. It doesn't matter if you're having a bad day or you're sad or you don't feel like it. No one cares. Shit has to get done. When I have a family, like, I want to be able to spend all my time with them. So it's like I'm hustling now so that I don't, so I'm free later.
What should they have prepared finance-wise to really acquire and start looking at getting into that space, and then how to set it up?
So whatever your overhead is on the property that you're going to use, whether that's rent or you own, make sure you have 3 months put to the side. Now, what I did that I recommend people do is...
Danny, welcome to the Attractive Mindset Podcast. And so I know a little bit about you. I'm not going to expose you with the art stuff that you did, but
oh my God.
Introduce yourself to everybody and, just tell them a little bit about you.
So I am a realtor, an investor, and I own an Airbnb arbitrage business. So I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm all about all things real estate. My family owns rental properties. So I was literally 6 years old, like tearing carpet and putting in appliances and painting. And so I've always been hardworking. I've always had like that entrepreneurial and real estate mindset and background. And I've always had really expensive taste. So I've just always been big on like leveling up, making more money, finding ways to capitalize on opportunities, risk taking, jumping on opportunities, and then also just like, hyper focus on real estate.
Okay. So expensive taste. What does that mean exactly?
So I blame my father, but for whatever reason, he thought like it would be cool to give a 5-year-old like king crab legs and, sushi and caviar. So I love seafood. I love really expensive meats and diamonds and gold and beautiful high rises with anything that glitters just lights up my world.
Okay, cool. And so you're from Chicago, born and raised. Okay. What are your roots? What are your parents' roots?
So my mom is Costa Rican.
Okay.
And she, grew up in a third world country. She immigrated here. So I'm first generation on her side.
Okay.
And my dad is a white suburban male.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a mix.
It's definitely a mix. It was interesting growing up.
And so he was always an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I would say he had that in him. So he was a personal trainer and a bodybuilder. So his thing was like fitness, but he always did kind of have that like hustle and like that, level up aspect to him as well. So he and my mother together purchased properties. The first property that they purchased was like a 3-flat. So the basement unit they rented out and the top floor unit they rented out. And then that paid for the entire building. So they lived for free. And once they realized that worked, like they just kept buying and selling and buying and selling. So anytime we bought a property, it would be kind of like old. So we would tear it out, gut rehab it, make it nice, and then rent it out. And so now that's, he retired at an earlier age. And that's like what sustains, the majority of my family's bills.
Okay, so, there's a lot of bad rep around Chicago, as you were explaining to me a little bit before, that everywhere has, this stuff, but there's sections to Chicago. And so growing up in Chicago, dealing with all of, what could be, what couldn't be, how do you separate yourself from that?
So I love Chicago, and if you ever go, you really will love Chicago too, because it is a very alive city. The food is amazing. The people are friendly. There's always something to do. There's always something new. So it's a very fun place to like explore and to experience life. Like there's always something happening. There's always someone from somewhere else that you can meet and learn from. Very diverse and very vibrant. And, I just love, love, love Chicago.
That was strong.
I mean, I didn't really realize it until I moved to Miami, but, growing up in the city, it wasn't the safest place. And that's just, you know, part of my story and a lot of people who grew up in the city.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I feel very privileged to have like had that upbringing and like had my experiences growing up, because I feel very well equipped anywhere that I go to be successful and prosper and safe, because I really did learn how to like protect myself at a young age and like, you know, be street smart and kind of, you know, be aware and be cautious of, you know, things around you. And yeah, so it's a beautiful city. I think you'll love it. In any major city, you have to be careful. As a kid, was a little bit rough at times, but we made it. So
rough at times outside or at home?
I would say both. You know, my, you know, family background wasn't the most healthiest growing up. Yeah, just like safety was a big thing. Like the home inside didn't feel the safest. The home outside didn't feel the safest. There was a lot of like turmoil of just like, how do I survive? Like, what do I do? You know? So like a lot of it was entrepreneurial as well, was kind of like providing for myself. Like, how do I protect myself? How do I create for myself? How do I give myself the life that like I want? So it was a lot of like ultra independence at like a very young age of like, I need to do this for me. How do I do it? Let's figure it out. And then a lot of trial and error that came with that.
Got it. So watching them do that growing up, what was the first thing that you got into?
So real estate related, I had a friend who like rented out apartments. So we got like,
how old was you during that time?
14, 15.
Oh, wow.
I think. It was like freshman, sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like 14, 15. But they would give us like $200 for renting out an apartment. And so me and my friends were like, oh my God, we're so rich. Like, you know, we were showing apartments throughout the summer and renting them out. That was my first like position. But other than that, like I say my dad didn't want to hire workers, so he had children. Like literally, I was literally like 6 years old cutting tile and like laying flooring, and like I was always just working on the properties, like gut rehabbing. But I, you know, there were times in kindergarten where I would go to Costco and like buy the things of water bottles and sell them at recess. Or in high school, I had like this, like there was an empty locker that I turned into a vending machine. So like in between passing periods, I would just sell snacks and stuff. So I just kind of have always had, you know, any way I could make money, like I just tried to peep it and capitalize.
Okay. So natural born hustler. Wow. So, you know, your dad seems to be that extra push. What about your mom?
My mom is a boss. My mom is such a boss. So she is a 3-time Emmy winner.
Oh,
okay. I'm saying.
Hold on. That was left field. Emmy.
So I love.
What'd she win it for?
She's a producer and editor for WGN TV.
Oh wow!
So she produces Adelante Chicago, which is like a Latin like recognition show in Chicago. So she's really big in like the Latin community and finding people that are giving back to the community and create stories on them. For Hispanic Heritage Month, she does a lot of the pieces that you see on the news. She'll like edit it together and like find the story. So she's had 3 pieces that have won Emmys.
Wow.
I know, but she's, you know, she's a hustler too. Like she came here from a third world country. She didn't speak the language. You know, their neighborhood was much rougher than mine was growing up, and she worked hard. She just always hustled, like kept family very important, and like really like provided better for us. And yeah, no, like she's exceptional at everything she does. She's like really prospers really well at work, and she's very inspirational. And I just love the fact that, you know, she's not from here. Like she, you know, came from nothing and created a lot. And so, yeah, she's a boss. My mom is
that's
a boss.
dope. That's super dope. And so in her doing that, working alongside your dad and, you know, flipping these real estate things and houses and stuff like that, you know, what point did you, I guess, develop your own business?
So I had a background in musical theater. So when I was a kid, I was really big into like.
So you sing?
I can try sometimes, but like my main thing was acting. But yes, it was like singing, dancing, acting, performing on stage.
Okay.
I was like, I wanted to be the, you know, like a superstar and like all eyes on me. Like,
what's your favorite musical?
That's a good question. I really like, I think Hamilton right now is my favorite.
Hamilton, Aaron Burr. Okay.
My mom actually did a piece on him.
Wow. Okay. I'm pretty well versed in MT as well.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I can appreciate it. I just love.
It's good.
You're so passionate. You just have to sing about something. And
do you know all the Hamilton stuff by heart?
No, not by heart.
Oh,
I've
so you're
seen
not
it a
like
couple times. No. Okay, so this was the where the segue was coming. So I studied that all throughout high school, and I just heard all my teachers talk about struggling artists.
And that killed your dream?
I was not a struggling lifestyle type of person, like I always had expensive taste. And so I knew real estate, I had some history in it, and, I knew history resulted in money. So I pivoted. Instead of following arts that could or could not make it, I followed real estate that I knew I had a history of being successful in, and that was going to give me the lifestyle I wanted.
So let me ask this then. If money didn't exist in the world, what would you do?
Ooh, I would live in a tropical rainforest and be one with nature.
Are you like one of the...
I want to be like an Amazonian jungle princess. That's like my goal in life.
That wasn't the word I was going for, but
holistic, spiritual. Okay. I'm into like all of that jazz.
Okay. So you don't go to hospitals and stuff?
No, I go to hospitals.
Oh, so
yeah, I'm really big on just like spirit. So not just I like to eat clean foods. Like I like to take care of my body and try to not give it like over processed, oversaturated stuff as I can. Okay. I take medicine when I need it. I go to the doctor when I need it. But I'm really big on like spirit. So like physical health, mental health, spiritual health. So for me, a big part of my spiritual health is like connecting through elements. So like being in the water, being in the sun, paying attention to the wind, paying attention to plants, like that connects me to my spirit.
Got it. Does that include astrology?
I'm not that good at astrology. I'm just starting to get into like stones a little bit. But it's just not, it's not like my background. Like for me, it's more of like feeling, like when I pay attention to the wind, like I feel my spirit, when I feel the sun, I feel my spirit. So it's not as calculated as like looking at the stars and like figuring things out. It's more of just like how I like internalize my spirit and how I like physically and spiritually connect to it, I guess.
Okay. So a question would be, do you feel like spirituality and finances are hand in hand?
Absolutely. Well, yes, absolutely. So my opinion is your spirit when you're in tune with your spirit, you're able to live in your purpose. And for some people that's finances, and for some people that's not. Like for whatever reason, I genuinely believe that my spirit, my creator, God, the higher power, energy, whatever you want to call it, like has destined me to make a lot of money. Like that's just always been who I was. That's just always been in me. So when I am in tune with my spirit, I make more. I flourish. I seize on opportunities. I see opportunities. I'm able to move through difficult situations. And when I'm not, like I'm stumbling, like trying to, put like a circle into a square hole, like things that it's like it's clashing. But when I'm in one with my spirit, things flow. And for me personally, like I genuinely believe it's just my destiny that, part of me flourishing is being financially wealthy as well.
Okay. And so do you believe spirituality and religion are of the same hue?
I think historically, people have always known of spirituality and they created religion to try to understand it. So I think some people can use religion to tap into their spirituality. And for me growing up, like I grew up in a religious background and that segued me into having like spiritual experiences. So I think it depends for each person, like religion historically has caused a lot of hate and harm and discrimination and wars and just terrible things, but I do think that some people can access spirituality through it, and so if it helps you, by all means.
Okay. And do you feel like, well, not even do you feel like, do you have like a spiritual father or spiritual mom or something like that?
Like a human being?
Yeah, because I've met some people that are in spirituality and they're like, this is my dad, this is my spiritual dad, or this is my spiritual mom. And I don't even know how those relationships happen.
So I have like mentors or like people
Okay.
that are in spiritual programs that like help guide me and realign me. My dad's a pastor, so like
Oh, okay.
I get a lot of church at home. I get a lot of talks, but he's very like on the spiritual course now too. Um I say people are like my spirit animals.
Mm.
So like I had a yoga instructor that I felt like our higher powers were very connected. Like whenever he led a course, like I felt like my spirit was getting fed. So I was like, oh, he's my spirit animal. Or there's like artists that like through their music, my spirit feels very fed. So I'll be like, oh, that's my spirit animal.
Like who?
Like Kendrick Lamar. I love Kendrick Lamar.
I've never heard his music done in that kind of way, but
In a spiritual sense?
yeah, I did see you go on a Kendrick tangent once.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was on your story, and you had like a mini breakdown. I said, okay, she's a Kendrick stan.
Yeah. I mean, he feeds my spirit. And he's also sober. I'm also sober. He's very vulnerable. And in his music, you can tell he wants to like empower and heal people. And that's what the core of my spirituality is. Like it's healing, it's uplifting, it's love, it's light, it's empowerment, it's joy. And so he naturally, you know, feeds that to his audience and uses his platform to instill that in mass amounts of people. And like that really feeds my spirit because that's like what my spirit also wants to do. And he's doing it.
Except
and he
when
does
went
it
against
beautifully
Drake.
too. He's so talented.
Except when he went against Drake. I'm not a Drake fan, but he went kind of dark for Drake. He did go crazy.
He said it though. He said, you know, he was like, you know, I'm a servant of God, but if I need to get to war, we getting to war.
Okay.
So, I mean, it is what it is. And also he was able to touch more people and like bring more attention to who he is as an artist. So now there's a lot of people that maybe weren't so into Kendrick before, and now they are. True. So he just increased his platform to do more work.
True.
But he said what he was doing as he was doing it.
True, very true. So
he spoke about God throughout his disses, talking about he's praying with his kids, teaching them, giving them, you know, morals, integrity, teaching them how to walk through life. He's uplifting Drake's own children and is like, come on, man.
Like, You're right. When you put it that way, you're definitely right. And so you mentioned that he's sober, you're sober. So that means like you don't drink or you stop drinking or stop doing stuff?
Like everything. I don't smoke weed. I do smoke cigarettes and I drink a lot of caffeine. So, but like any mind altering substance, anything that's going to take my mind out of its natural state, I don't touch.
Okay. And what made you used to do it before?
Yeah.
What made you cut it off?
So I was thinking I was going to do like a 30-day cleanse from drinking. And
how long ago was this? Sorry.
2.5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So once I stopped, I realized like how impactful alcohol had been like in my life and like on my spirit. And like, you know, it really had changed like the course of my life. Then what I wasn't living in my purpose. And I felt like alcohol had a big part of that. And so once I cut out alcohol, I saw like the old me coming back. Like my spirit got brighter, my physical health got better, my mental clarity became, you know, more on track. Like I was more capable and more at peace and like just closer to the person that I wanted to be that I felt like I had lost. And then I never touched alcohol because like alcohol to me was like, you know, once I took it out, I felt like there was a big difference. So I was like, no matter what, I'm never touching alcohol. But like I would dabble with like shrooms or like weed or other things like that. And with those, it just got to a point where I literally was just like, I can't touch anything anymore. Like, you know, for me, who I am, my personality, how my mind works, how I function as a human, like it's really like I'm just the type of person that cannot be touching like any substance. Like I need to be like, that's just how I am. Like I need to be focused on my spirit. I need to be focused on, you know, being the best me. Because if it's not, like I'm so extreme. So if I'm not this way, I'm gonna go really bad the opposite way, you know? And it's like I don't want to do that. So I kind of like, it's one way to cut things in the tracks, like keep me on track, keep myself focused. Which is why I really admire Kendrick Lamar as well, is because I think there's similarities in that, like forcing yourself to have to be sober, to have to feel everything, to have to move forward. You know, like sometimes your brain just works a little differently where you're that person and it's not easy, you know, it's challenging. but it's like, that's just who I am.
No, absolutely. And so what made you start cigarettes, or did you already do cigarettes and you just didn't stop it?
No, it was just because I got rid of the alcohol and I just needed something. We're working on it though. We don't smoke as much as we used to.
How much do you smoke?
A pack could last me like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
So maybe like 2 packs a month. I don't smoke every day, but if it's a stressful day, I could smoke 3 cigarettes, you know.
What defines as a stressful day to you now?
When my spirit is upset, for me, it's like when I'm not willing to like take the pauses to just breathe, realign, and move through life with grace. To me, it's like anxiety and like clashing. Like I feel like internal turmoil. So it's not even what's going on around me, because my days are always stressful. I got off of a plane here at like 4 a.m. I was up 7 a.m. the next morning to start showings, you know, like that's just my life. It's madness. But when I'm solid, like with myself and in tune with my spirit, you know, I'm fine. But when I'm not, then I'm like, okay, like let me smoke a cigarette really quick because I'm like jittery and, you know, off balance. And so it to me, it's just like a vice, like a quick, like a little Band-Aid. And then when I go home at night, I can do my meditations and my prayers and kind of decompress and try to realign. But I don't always take that time like throughout the day to like actually take a moment and just like breathe, pray, realign. Like sometimes I just let, you know, things pile up. And yeah.
Okay. And so getting into the Airbnb a little bit more, you know, I've seen you post some very impressive wins with that category. You know, walk the audience through first starting versus your journey now. How long ago when did you really first start the Airbnb? And then how did you get it to where it is now?
So I started my first one right before I stopped drinking. So I think it was like February, like 2 years ago ish, maybe December ish. Winter 2 years ago. So prior to, I knew it was something that I wanted to get into, and I did research on it. I had friends that had done it successfully that I like interviewed. I'm like very studious and kind of nerdy. So like I, took my notes, did my interviews, got the information together. Once the opportunity presented itself, I just jumped on it. And like, I do this a lot in business where I kind of just black out and I just do. And then it's all done. And I'm like, oh my God, what have I just done? And that's the same with like jumping back and forth to Miami, getting licensed. I literally packed up my car, drove down here and I was like, all right, I'm here now. I was like, shit, what do I do now? I got to figure it out, but it's, that's just how I function. And that's how I prosper, is like, I just jump. But so I started my first one up and it was successful. That was the first year post COVID. So it was really successful because everybody was out traveling.
Yeah.
So I made really, really good money on it my first year.
And what was that?
I think I was profiting. I mean, in my summer months, I was doing like $6,000 a month. And, my overhead on the unit was like under $2,000. So I'm, I'm closing $4,000 a month on a side business, and, that was the first one. And then it did well. I had a good relationship with running it, with managing it. And so I had an apartment that I lived in that I was jumping back and forth between. And then I had a 4-bedroom that I was going to convert into one. It was like corporate housing. And then that lease was up with the corporate housing. So I was going to take it over as Airbnbs. That one was tough, because it's just furnishing is a lot. Like, I'm small and I'm getting a lot of my furniture discounted or free on like Facebook Marketplace to like cut costs. So a lot of times I'm like trying to haul like a queen mattress over my dad's minivan. Like it's madness. Like if you knew what I've put into setting these things up, like crazy. I literally had a queen bed like fly off the roof of my dad's minivan like while I'm on the street because the bungee cords were shitty.
Damn.
Yeah. And I was like having a bad day that day too. Like, man, like if people really knew like all the stuff. And so when I got that lease too, like I was shoving all this furniture into my kitchen of my apartment because I didn't get the lease until the 1st, but I was accumulating furniture before then. And I'm working busy season full time, I'm real estate's like a nonstop job. On top of it, I'm like, luggage, like carrying huge pieces of furniture in the summer heat, like madness. But that one went up and running. Then I had a successful season with that last year. And then this year I just launched February. I had my apartment that I used to live in. I put that up on Airbnb too. So now I have 3 properties. I used to have 7 units within the 3 properties, but I deconverted them from individual rooms to full properties. So now I have 3 full properties that I just launched June 1st. And
out here in Chicago.
Chicago.
Okay.
And then I have properties here that I'm kind of in the talks and works with, but I haven't launched anything out here yet.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that's dope. That's major. So from starting off at 14, 15, doing the $200 stuff, you know, how long did it take you to move out?
Of my parents' house? I moved out when I was 18, I think. 18-ish, 19. I got a full-time job out of high school doing real estate, and I rented like a room on
You didn't go to college?
Craigslist. So I did. I went to community college. I ended up getting my degree, but like my first year, I was a hooligan. Like I just wanted to run the streets and be crazy and, you know, be wild. So I kind of dropped out my first year. COVID, you know, I got the opportunity to go back, so I ended up going back. But I did I basically jumped out of high school, started working real estate. School became more of like part-time, and then, you know, that converted more to full-time. And then eventually I got my degree and then redid real estate full-time.
Okay. And so what triggered Miami?
So it was always something that I talked about with like my best friend. We were just like, oh, because I got her into real estate as well. So, you know, we were always just like, oh, like how cool would it be if we went to Miami half the year, and like when we're here half the year, and, you know, we were working busy season all year round, and like we both loved Miami. She's Latina as well. So, you know, the Latin culture here is so vibrant. And when I would visit here, it was like one of the only places that I could see myself living, because being from Chicago, like Chicago really is an awesome city. So when I would travel a lot of cities, I was like, sorry, honey, like this is not it. Like, you know, I have high standards. But Miami, I was like, I could live here. And so I was in a really long relationship, like I'm talking like high school sweetheart. And then so when we broke up, we lived together, and once my lease was ending, I was like, there's nothing tying me here anymore. You know, like I always wanted to do Miami, but like, you know, he had school, he had his job. It was always like us together, like what we had to do. So it was never like fully just what I wanted to do, like being in a relationship. So once that was no longer there and my lease was up, I was like, I literally have nothing keeping me here. So I was like, I've always said I wanted to do it. Like now's the time to do it. So same thing. The opportunity presented itself. I packed up my car and I drove down.
No, that's dope. And so this is going to present me with 2 off-bar questions, but I haven't really had the opportunity to ask these questions. So this is good. So we were at a VIP mastermind dinner the other day, whatever. And the topic that came up was you can't fall in love. A man can't fall in love before he has money. How do you feel about that statement? You have to have money before you fall in love. Some people said yes. Some people said no.
I think everything in this world is relative. I think what works for me is not 100% what's going to work for you. My parents didn't come from money, either of them. Even my dad was privileged, white in the suburbs, but they were still poor. And they lived very different lives, because being brown poor and white poor are very different. But they didn't have money, and they together worked hard, poured into the family, poured into their businesses, and created something for themselves. I do think compatibility is like the most important part of like partnership at a young age. And like that's ultimately why my relationship didn't end up lasting, is, you know, the love was there, but like the compatibility wasn't. And if you want to get somewhere in life, like you really, if you're going to give half of your life and energy and time into like a relationship, like it has to be someone who's like, you are so locked in, like you are so on the same page, you are so agreeing to like what you guys are both trying to do and accomplish, and you're gonna help and support each other to get there. And like I do think it's possible, but like my dating life is pretty much non-existent, because it's like I don't have the time or energy to pour into learning someone and finding someone and figuring out if that match is going to work. So if it falls on my lap and it just happens, like I'm open to it and it could be great, but that's not something that I believe I can afford to look for at this stage in my life where I'm trying to make all these other things happen. So I can see both sides of it where it's like, you know, you can't fall in love until you have money because that has to be your ultimate goal. But if something comes to you and it's meant to be, like, don't ignore it. Like those things are hard to find, you know? So I think it's just whatever works for you. And, you know, whatever ends up happening is ultimately like what's meant to happen.
Okay. And so the second out of 3 is, you know, you kind of answered it a little bit. You know, when you meet high value women like yourself, which some men can consider high maintenance because you like everything that shines, you know, how do you see yourself interacting with, you know, a partner or a potential partner, where, as you know, like the standard that you have for yourself, but you're also a boss babe, and it's like you kind of butt heads because the old society would be the woman goes home and cooks, cleans, and takes care of the kids and all of that stuff, but you're thriving.
Yeah. This is funny that you asked this. I am a little okay. So I had to be independent at a young age, so I'm just independent. Like, I like nice things. I don't trust or rely on anyone enough to give them for me. Like, I provide them for myself. That's just who I am. However, I still am like a little bit old school. Like, I wouldn't mind being at home with the kids and cooking and cleaning, and the man supports the household, you know? So it's like, I don't really know the answer to that myself. Like, I'm internally conflicted.
Okay.
Like, I will always have it for myself because that's just who I am. But like, I also wouldn't mind just being a stay-at-home mom and valuing like the family and like helping someone else support me, because I know my business is like, I'm going to be good regardless, you know? So I don't know.
Okay. No, that's an interesting perspective. And then the last one is, would you go into a relationship and the same way, you know, it's always a battle between men and women where the man usually has the money and the woman doesn't, and he builds the women up, versus they say that most women won't do that for men.
Oh, hell. I have built up every single man I have ever been with, okay? And they have left my world in a better place. So I'm not hearing that one.
And so when you say build up and like
gotten jobs, gotten financial aid, helped with school, helped with everything, like literally.
You paying tuition?
I'm not paying, no, but I'll help you figure out how you're gonna pay. You know, like I'll help you learn the subject. I'll help you learn, you know, figure this out. I'll help put you on. But no, it goes against my DNA to spend money on a man. Like I'm working on it. I'm trying.
So not even for like his birthday?
Oh no, if we were like my ex, I bought so many nice, like I like to, like his birthdays were good. I spent a lot of money on him. Like I would give him like massages at the 5-star hotels and like, you know, designer watches and stuff. Like if you are my partner, I'm going to spoil you. But like these men expect you to like pay on dates and stuff. Like I'm not taking a man out on a date. Like there's no way. Like, no, I'm
really?
sorry. If we are together, babe, I got dinner this time, you know, like, oh, let me take you to the spa or something cute that like a man's not going to take himself to. I can't do it, man. Like I'm working on it because I don't know. This is a sensitive topic because I don't know. My dad, you know, worked, provided the bills. I think a man should provide. I think a man should want to spend money on a female.
Even if he can provide, let's say he does very well for himself, all that considering, you would still never take him out?
If he was my partner, yes.
Well, I mean, even if he wasn't, you're courting.
No. I think a man should want to pursue the woman and should want to spend money on the woman and should want to say, let me earn you. Let me spend money on you. Let me pull you. And like the woman can provide other things. Like, let me reassure you. Let me uplift you. Let me encourage you. You know, like I think men and women bring different things to the table. And like, that's the type of woman that I am. I do not want to be responsible for financially helping someone out, like a man. Like that should be what you want to do. And if you're struggling, like I will help put you in the right rooms. I will help connect you. I will help give you opportunities, but you need to earn your money. And I think I'll be that way with my children even. Like I'm not going to just give my children money. Why the fuck am I just giving a man money? No. Like I'm sorry, but I'm just not there. Like I'm not there.
No, I mean it's valid. It's valid. It's definitely valid. And so, do you have any kids?
No, I have a niece.
Okay. And so when you do have kids, because I'm assuming you want kids, when you do have kids, would you want them to go into a specific job field or would you want them to follow your footsteps?
I would want them just to invest. So have stocks, have life insurance, have property. And I'm sure like I will contribute a lot to that, but I would want them to be able to be financially secure to follow their passions. Like that would be my dream for my children, for them to not have to worry about money, but they also need to be hard workers. So I am planning, like, if you want a field trip or something, like you have to work for it. And, the same with my niece, like she'll help out around the house a lot. And my sister, like I love to spoil her, but she like, she does a lot for me. She does a lot for me. So I do think there is, a lot that I gained from like having to be independent so young and like having to be forced to provide for myself. Like, I think that's made me who I am. And I like really love a lot of attributes about myself. So I want to be able to pass that on to like the newer generations as well. So, my dream would be do whatever you want, like whatever you're passionate about, whatever lights up your world, dive into that, explore that, live in that. But you have to be your responsibilities, your standard of living, like that has to be taken care of first. So maybe, start investing at a young age, set yourself up at a young age so that you have the flexibility to do that. That's what I'm trying to do. When I have a family, like I want to be able to spend all my time with them. Like I don't want to have to be working my whole life. Like I want to be able to explore my passions and spend time with the kids and travel and all of that. So it's like I'm hustling now so that I don't, so I'm free later. So I can just kick back and chill.
You're still in your 20s?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're still young. Okay. And so with the kids, usually I get the male perspective, but this is good. I get the female perspective now. With it not being how it used to be, especially when you were 14, 15, where you're forced into these situations of having to be independent, having to be all of that stuff, not coming from a boatload of money, still having nice things, but versus the version of yourself that you are now, the providing or provision that you'll give your kids by the time you have them will be entirely different from when you were younger. So how do you plan to create that dynamic of the same experience to really drill into them like, hey, this is reality?
You have to work for it. Like I don't want my kids to have to go through what I went through. I just want to instill within them the principles that I've learned from my experiences. So like, like I said, if there's a field trip that I have to pay $45 for you to go to the Shedd Aquarium, you're mowing the lawn, you're folding the laundry, you're walking the dog. Like you give a child responsibilities. Responsibilities gives you purpose. It makes you get out of bed when you don't want to. You have to go to work when you don't want to. That teaches you discipline. That teaches you how, the tools that you need to be successful in life. So you instill that as a child. Like my child's not going to go hungry or not know like where they're going to fall asleep at night, but they're going to know what it's like to have to get up and do the dishes or walk the dog on a Saturday morning when they don't want to and all they want to do is have a lazy night in. Like, no, you don't get cut slack. Like this world does not give you slack. It doesn't give you grace periods. It doesn't give you a cushiony soft experience. That was not my experience. No one cares if like it, that's the truth. Like it doesn't matter if you're having a bad day or you're sad or you don't feel like it. Shit has to get done. So you teach discipline, you teach consistency, you teach hard work ethic, and you instill that at a young age through like chores and tasks and responsibilities. You give a child responsibilities and you hold them to it. They become responsible, they become capable, they become independent.
No, that's valid. Super valid. And so with you working in real estate and Airbnb as frequent as you do, I hear the hecticness of some of your days. What does an off day look like for you and how frequent do you have them?
So an off day for me, like I will not leave my bed. I'm literally in like sleeping. Like I call them crash days. So I can go like a few weeks with 4 hours of sleep, constant work and madness, but I need a crash day. So when I'm done, going everywhere, I'm literally just sleeping in bed all day. Like maybe I'll get up to like make myself food, but like I'm out. But it's like I need that, like my body shuts down, So it's like a catch up.
And so, you go on a few weeks with sleeping only 4 hours. What do you do during the day?
Power naps and caffeine. So I need both. I can't do one or the other.
I meant like work-wise.
Oh God. Showings, emails, networking events, meetings, consultations, moving furniture, guest requests, purchasing things for Airbnbs. Like I don't have that's the life of an entrepreneur. It's not like I have to do X, Y, and Z. It's like there's a million tasks to get done. You work 14-hour days and you feel like you've accomplished nothing. Like it's madness. Like my life is chaos. It is organized chaos. I will say that. But it's absolute chaos. Like it's constantly jumping around and doing all of these random tasks and things that need to get done as they're presented. So being able to prioritize is really important of like what needs to get done right away. I make a list, I knock it out. I'm on my shit. I'm like, get it done, boom, 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 boom. Like I was at an event before here, I ran straight here and I have an event right after. Make a list, get it done, prioritize importance and just go, 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 go. So when I crash, I'm done. Like, don't talk to me, I'm in my bed.
Gotcha. And with that mentality, there's a quote that says the hustler has to die in order for the CEO to grow. And so do you have a team?
I do. It is my sister. My sister is my team.
Okay. And do you expand on that team? Or are you planning to expand on that team?
Yeah. So it's funny you said this. I watched something the other day and it was talking about how the jump from millionaire to billionaire is done through delegation. So that's been something I've been focusing on a lot. But I'm working on hiring an assistant for my real estate business in Chicago to have that up and running and like taken care of on its own. My sister started off like doing very simple tasks. So her responsibilities and her pay are slowly increasing. I also have cleaners that manage my property. So I have added another team of cleaners. So yeah, as I keep going, like I do intend to keep, hiring and delegating and expanding. And I'm well aware that like I cannot do anything that I do on my own. Like I know that I need a good team behind me and supporting me. And I try to find ways to, integrate that in my growth.
Okay. And what's an end goal or exit strategy for you?
An end goal for me would just to be like there's truly no end or exit. Just because there's always your brain is developing until the day you die. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to touch that. So you are literally growing until your last breath. So there is always an opportunity to expand, to grow, to level up. And like that's my thing is like once I'm done with something, I want the next level. Like what can I do more now? So there's no like end goal for me as much as there is like a baseline. Like I want to hit a certain baseline and then from there kind of coast a little bit and then,
What's that baseline?
So I would like to have a certain amount of properties that are long-term tenants. It depends on like profit. Like I would like to have like 10 grand a month in passive income.
Okay.
Like long-term tenants that I don't have to like I can have a property manager that's completely hands off. I would like a certain amount in like dividends coming in. I would like a certain amount in my Airbnbs coming in. I want a certain number of money, $25,000 a month that I'm passively getting. That's like truly passive. Then I would feel more comfortable to like, okay, now I can travel a little bit more. Now I can, take time off, focus more on like, building a family, things like that.
How often do you travel now?
I haven't traveled since like COVID. I mean, I travel here for business. I travel all the time.
Like out of the country.
So my sister's birthday, I went to Houston. I haven't been out of the country since before COVID.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I used to travel all the time, like in high school, like my family's Costa Rican. I'd go to Costa Rica a lot. I've been to Mexico, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. Like I love Central South America.
Just in grind mode.
Hmm?
Just in grind mode.
Yeah. And that's like, I'm trying to make things happen. So like starting up the Airbnbs, that was a lot of work. Like there were times I really thought I was going crazy. I fell off with a lot of my friends. Like no one saw me. Like it was tough. There's no way I could think of doing anything other than like focusing on that project at that time. Now I'm trying to make my real estate career in Miami take off while maintaining my real estate career in Chicago, while maintaining properties in both, livings in both, housings in both, cars in both. Like it's a lot. So until that gets more situated and comfortable, like I can't even think of focusing on anything else.
So having to be essentially that strong by yourself, how does that make you feel mentally?
What do you mean?
Like it's a lot of work. It seems like a lot of work. The vacations don't happen as frequent. The crash out days versus the days that you go crazy are, 3 weeks compared to a day or two. And so how do you really keep yourself together without burning out?
I don't. I like cry all the time and like burn out all the time. Like I'm a mess, but it's fine because that's just where, I am in life. But, my family is very supportive. I'm very close to my family, and my sister's literally like my twin. Like we are so, together with everything. I have, people, spiritual mentors, and I have real estate mentors as well, So I do have a lot of people that like believe in me and that encourage me and that like constantly speak life and like, we're so proud of you, Danica. Like I forget a lot of times because I'm so focused on like what I have to do that I forget on like where I've come from and like what I've done. And so it's very easy for me to get lost and not be appreciative or give myself gratitude to me and say thank you for everything that I've done for myself. That goes way over my head like 95% of the time. It's always just like where I need to go. And so, when I have friends or family say like, wow, we're so proud of you, or like, we really see what you're doing, or, I just want to say you're doing amazing. And like, when I get those random things from people on Instagram or from, a cousin I haven't seen in a while, or I forget. And then I think like, oh, wow, like this isn't where I was 2 years ago. I've really put a lot of work and stuff into myself. And so I think that kind of gives me the little oomph that I need to keep going. And I also say that, God gives me God gives us the wins that we need, not the wins that we want. So when I am like really down and I like need to pick me up, like God will give me a win. Like, something will just fall together magically, or like I'll just get a client with a high price point, or like I'll get a really good booking. Like when I'm really struggling and really down, like God does give me those little like, those little interventions of like, hey, it's okay. Hey, look at this. Like you're doing, like I get those little wins. That's like, it's okay. It's going to be fine. Like he feeds my spirit still. But like I said, I do have like a lot of support from my friends and family as well.
Okay. No, that's dope. And so the last part we're going to get into is called Gem Drop. And so on Gem Drop, we like to give actual real-time gems on if somebody in the audience or whatever that's watching that wants to get into this field, or whether it be real estate or Airbnb, we're going to give them actual steps that they can use today, next week, next month, to really start. So for people who want to get into Airbnb, what should they have prepared finance wise to really acquire and start looking at getting into that space if it's going to be lucrative and work out for them, and then how to set it up?
So I would recommend having 3 months in reserves. So whatever your overhead is on the property that you're going to use, whether that's rent or you own, make sure you have 3 months put to the side. And then also it really does depend on like how big your unit is. But I would say Google like market price for furniture, like how much does it cost to furnish a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom or whatever the case is of whatever property you have, and then double that number. Now, what I did that I recommend people do is Facebook Marketplace. So look for people giving away. So they're called Buy Nothing projects, and different cities have them and different areas. So like there's a Brickell Buy Nothing project. There's a Miami Beach Buy Nothing project. Join those groups, and it's people that are saying like, hey, I have this furniture, it's big. If you move it, it's yours, it's free. So that's how I furnished a lot of my properties. But then you have to be prepared at the drop of a dime. You have to be able to get a truck and get hands, get the furniture and move it. Gotcha. So I would recommend having somewhere that you can store furniture for like a little while beforehand so that you have time to like run around the city and get what you need. Utilize Facebook Marketplace, utilize, Goodwill or Salvation Army, buying things that work, but don't blow your budget on your furniture and stuff. Just make sure it's good enough to get things running. And then another thing is to really focus on reviews. So really make sure you're touching base with your guests. Make sure that they are having a good experience, seeing it, listening to feedbacks, listening to comments, personally texting them, say, hey, how to check and go? How was your stay? Is there anything I can do to enhance your stay? Figure out the licensing for your state. In Chicago, you need a shared housing registration number, which like when I have my course, like I'll go over everything to do that, but different cities and states are different. So just make sure you're touching base with your state, your, actual government to make sure you have what you need to put it on the listing. For the listing, I recommend hiring a professional photographer. It makes it much nicer. I also recommend including anything that's quirky about your property. So if like ceilings are low, or if one of the faucet leaks, or if there's, bad lighting in one of the bedrooms, anything that's kind of like off-putting, make sure you disclose it in the description. Because if it's not, people will want a refund for it later. But if it is, then you can say, hey, this was disclosed. Also, that helps with reviews because people know what to expect going into it. You don't want to like catfish someone on your property. You're going to get bad reviews. Cleaning a lady is very imperative to a successful business because you need to get the unit professionally turned over every time. So do your research. Make sure you're getting a good cleaner that's somewhat affordable. Make sure you're getting internet that's, the main thing for furnishing is comfortability. So you want it to be aesthetically pleasing. I recommend, I would put up in Facebook groups like, hey, I just moved into a new apartment. I need art. Does anyone have like leftover art that doesn't fit their room anymore? And then I would pick up a bunch of like little arts, but like things like that just fill a room. They make it feel more comfortable, more homey. Yeah. So, posters, vases, flowers, rugs, bins, like all those little things, like don't spend your money on that, but fill your unit with it. So, make sure, and then run comps. Go on Airbnb as if you're a guest, say look for a 2-bedroom in your area and see what they're running for, and then look at the calendar to see how booked they are. So you can get an idea with this price point. On average, they're booked 20 nights out of the month. They're booked 15 nights out of the month. And then you can use that to like run your numbers. That was a little crash course.
No, that was dope. That was dope. They're going to learn a lot from that one. And so the other side of that question is, what are the 2 biggest adversities you've faced with Airbnb?
Oh, God. Okay. So managing the cleanings, I have messed up so many times because there was a time I literally had 7 properties that I'm turning over, and I'm turning over the wrong rooms. I'm scheduling, it was madness. So that's why I hired my sister. We hired another cleaner, and we decompressed. So, but that was a big one. Like that was a hurdle that like and then I was working full time. So it was just madness. So make sure you're organized. That could probably, help that. Make sure you have like a system in place to make sure that the turnovers are happening frequently and on time.
How do you organize yourself now?
So now they updated the app to like all the calendars are like on one calendar. Okay. One of my cleaning is there's an automated app called Turnover, I think, where like it syndicates to your Airbnb app so it can automatically schedule cleanings that way. And then also I pay my sister to like manually hire cleanings for the property as well. So she handles that. That's like her one job. So instead of me focusing on that and a million other things, I have one person designated to do that. I'm paying a flat fee for it every month, and I know it gets done.
Got it.
The other thing I would say for me personally is just like customer reviews. I get really emotional because I put so much energy and time and money into these properties, and like I had someone want to give me a 1-star review because like they found a hair on their pillow and they thought it was unsanitary. A Spanish couple was mad that they didn't have enough silverware for their 5-course meal. Someone said that like the premises were disgusting because they were like leaves from outside. And, You know, so things like that, it's just like, dude, like you're shitting on my business that I've put so much time and energy into because you're being, and like those are the people who end up getting like really big discounts too. So I'm like, you're not paying much for this unit that a lot of people are paying a lot more for. So I just think like the customer service aspect of it, like I struggle with. I'm a bitch. Like, you know, I know how to be like professional, but like, no, they get to me sometimes.
And so how do you respond to those?
I mean, I try to do like the professional bitchy, but it doesn't always come out. Sometimes I'm just flat out bitch. So it's not the best for the reviews, you know? It's a learning process. We're getting there. We're growing.
Okay. No, this was definitely informative, you know. There you guys have it in a nutshell, how to get started with your Airbnb and some of the biggest adversities that you might face with it. And so, Danny, this was great. Thank you for just spending the time to come here, share your story, share a little bit about yourself. If people wanted to tap in with you, if they wanted to follow you, learn more from you, where could they do that?
So my Instagram is downtown.danny. That's probably like the place that I'm most like active on. But then I also have a linked tree in my bio, so you can actually book like one-on-one consultations if you wanted to like buy or purchase property or like get into investing. You can actually do a one-on-one consultation with me. There's also a link to my property, so if you know anyone who's visiting Chicago and you want to reach out to me directly, you can book through me directly instead of through the app and save some money that way. Or just follow me on Instagram and say hi, and we can connect. I love networking, so yeah.
All right, there you have it. And so again, this is another episode of Attractive Mindset. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. And it's your host, Master Ma Rich. And as we always say, we look good, we live good. Life is good. Talk to us, we talk back, and we out.